Welcome to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. Each episode will tear down a myth, kick a social norm in the beanbag, gut punch a sex ed untruth, or destroy a poorly constructed relationship expectation. Get ready to unlearn all the crap you accepted as fact. Strap in for a mind-blowing revision on what sex is and what it can do. Prepare yourself for a whole new thought pattern when it comes to modern relationships. And now, here's your host, Jenny Simus, the Intimacy Ally, relationship expert and certified sex and intimacy coach.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. It's me, Jenny Simus Laty, your Intimacy Ally, and I am joined today by Erin Wahlberg. Now, I'm super excited about this because Erin is on the coaching track at Sexual Health Alliance, where I went for my coaching certification. So I'm super duper excited to welcome her. Her pronouns are she, her. Thank you for normalizing pronouns. She is a body positive and affirming registered massage therapist. Ooh, I love that. And accessible yoga and meditation teacher. I love that too. And parent in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. She is self-described as a queer, bisexual, fat, polyamorous, and kinky femme. Oof, I like all of that spice. Oh, Erin, welcome so much to the show.
Thank
I would
you.
love it if you could share with my audience like a little bit about how you got interested in this work. Like, where were you and what kind of hit you that was like, you know what? This is what I'm doing.
Yeah, it came about from a few different angles, I guess.
Okay.
I've been a massage therapist for 21 years. I just had my 21st anniversary. Woo woo.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not a career that tends to lend itself to longevity because it's really hard on the body.
It is.
And last year I actually had to have surgery on both of my hands. And,
Whoosh.
I was thinking about like, what am I going to do if I can't go back to my career? And I have a now 13-year-old kid who, was going through the whole puberty thing and, starting junior high and all of that stuff. And I was like, man, this kid, if they have any kind of like sexuality education like I had, they're screwed.
Right.
So, so I started thinking about that, and I was watching Sex Education on Netflix.
Such a good
and
show.
I was just, I'm like, can I just be Gillian Anderson in that movie? I mean, could I just be Gillian Anderson in general?
In general.
But like, so, and I was like, this is something that I could do well into my 50s, 60s, 70s, I could be this generation's Sue Johansson. And so then I started researching and I found Shaw and I was like, they are so inclusive and they are so progressive in their thinking and they're so sex positive. And, I
innovative,
thought the more I can learn,
right?
the better I can be there for my kid, the better I can be there for my community. And that's kind of the long story shortish.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So you started out in massage therapy and you know that I'm kind of like having people on right now for Pride Month. So I wanted to talk to you about did being queer, did being bisexual, did being in this community kind of lend to getting into this work for you?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm right now I'm 45. I am turning 46 this year. And I didn't come out until I was 40.
Yep.
So, I came out late in life and it wasn't that I didn't know that I was bisexual. But I married at 19 and have been married since I was 19. And I thought that I had just made the choice, of male or female or, whatever.
Right. You've made your choice. Now you have to
Yeah,
stick with it. You made your bed.
so
Now lie in it. Mm-hmm,
right, just and I don't know, I guess I didn't realize that I could honor and embrace the all aspects of my sexuality,
mm-hmm,
um, while being in a straight passing heteronormative presenting relationship.
mm-hmm,
Um, and when I started looking at that more and talking with my husband, and I mean, there's a lot of things in our relationship that are absolutely amazing, and there's a lot of things in our relationship that we just don't like fully mesh with.
mm-hmm,
um and we had to decide if we were gonna like separate and see if the grass is greener on the other side or try something else. We
mm-hmm,
decided to try opening our relationship, and we found polyamory, and I was like, oh my god, this is a whole thing. Like I
mm-hmm,
don't actually have to eliminate all the things that I love, you know,
mm,
and so, finding this community of like-minded people who are sex positive, who are polyamorous, who have varying degrees of gender expressions and sexualities, and realizing that there is very little supports for them
mm-hmm,
by people that understand where they're coming from and don't pathologize their sexualities or their genders or their relationship expressions. And there's this whole community of people that are fighting for authenticity in their lives, and they're just
mm-hmm.
being there's no supports.
No.
And so, that was part of what I really want in my practice, is to be able to provide those supports, and from a place of knowledge and information, and not having to have my clients teach me about, like, you go for couples counseling, they're like, what's polyamory? Oh, what does bisexuality mean to you?
Right?
Um, and it's not their
Mm-hmm.
fault. They just weren't educated.
No. It's kind of like
So,
medical doctors and nutrition. Like they get maybe a week on it. I feel very, very similarly to the mental health professions that if they don't make a point to seek out the information, to go get the CEUs on specific topics, they do not know.
yeah,
And then when
100%.
someone comes in to talk to them, they can ostracize them. Even by mistake, they can ostracize them. So
Yeah.
it is definitely something that is needed. Um, so on your journey doing this, you mentioned that you spoke with your husband and you guys decided to try. Now, I just have to let you know, like, it sounds very similar to where I was. We had a little bit more of a rocky background, I think, and eventually my ex and I did split up. Um, but there was talk of how I never was getting those needs met, how I never got to express my bisexuality, how
Hmm.
that part of me had to be like another thing that I had stuffed down for so long. And now being in my new marriage and new relationship and all my training, and just realizing that being my authentic self makes me able to show up and be present for my new husband, for my kids, for my family, for my friends, for potential partners that we find in the future. Like
Yes.
it's very freeing to know that you are doing your best to show your true self.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love hearing that you are doing that. Um, I want to know more about your delving into polyamory and how you describe yourself as the kinky femme. I want to hear a little more about this if you don't mind sharing with
Yeah,
us.
no, absolutely. I mean, it was an interesting journey because I had never heard about polyamory until we decided to open our relationship, and I ended up, I think I went for coffee with a friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh, have you heard of polyamory?" Or, "It sounds like what you want is polyamory," because
Mhm.
I I'm the type of person that, like, I can't just have sex with somebody if I don't have some sort of like emotional connection or feeling of safety with them. So casual sex it doesn't really work for me, unless
wait,
maybe
have
it's
you
with
heard
somebody I
have you heard
know.
the term demisexual? Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you sound like. I just heard this
Yeah.
term on Saturday when I was on another podcast. The host told me it and I was like, "Oh, I love that word." So sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt. Okay,
No,
keep going.
not it's totally I mean, um there's so many different, labels and sublabels, and I think it's amazing that we're finding the language, and we're developing a way to be able to communicate with each other and with other people.
Mhm.
Um, it can become overwhelming at
Yes.
times,
But I
but
do think like knowledge is power, language is power. And like so
definitely,
you were discovering like there was a word for what you were looking for, right?
yes.
Polyamory. So,
Polyamory, yeah.
all right.
Because I what I wanted was that emotional connection. I
Mm,
wanted that social interaction with a partner where you can go out somewhere or go to a function with a partner, and you can spend that time and share those little pieces of intimacy. And my husband is extremely introverted, and he gets
mhm,
crippling anxiety in social situations.
mhm,
And we were fighting all the time because he would try to come out for me, which
mhm,
I love and appreciate. And he would sit in the corner, miserable and just totally uncomfortable, which made
mhm,
everybody around him feel uncomfortable. And then I would feel angry and resentful because he agreed to come out, but he was so clearly unhappy. But it wasn't like, it's his anxiety and his mental health issues and him trying to fit himself into a a box that doesn't work for him just to make me happy.
mhm,
Um, so it just sort of, we started looking at like this concept of one person having to fit like all of our needs. Like,
yes.
how
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 overwhelming.
narcissistic of us.
Yeah, how
Like,
narcissistic, how overwhelming, how
yes.
unrealistic,
Yeah, and so much
how
pressure
much setting each other up to fail.
every day.
Mhm.
Yeah, every day. And,
Yeah.
there are a lot of, yes, a lot of these types of needs can be met by friends and things like that, but you can't take a friend to an event and have those, you know, quiet moments in the corner where you're whispering sweet nothings to each other. I mean, I suppose you can. I shouldn't say you can't.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but it's a different, it hits differently when you're with, a romantic partner or an intimate partner or somebody that you share that connection with.
And it's a lot to
Um,
put on a friend to
yeah,
expect that, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they might, not feel comfortable, and I don't know. It's
Mhm.
so I just said fuck that. I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but I just
Fuck
did.
yeah.
Ah.
This is where we
Um,
say fuck no to the status quo. Come on now. Yeah, of
excellent.
course.
I swear like a sailor, so it's all good.
Fucking great. Me too.
Yeah. Um. And then and then when I met this group of polyamorous people in
Mhm.
Edmonton in my community, I started hearing more stories and like just getting more information about what that means and what that looks like. And,
Mhm.
and then I realized that because my husband and I have been together since, like, officially, since I was 17.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
right.
Mhm. More than
Yeah,
half your
we've
life.
been
Got it.
together at 17. We got married at 19. I mean, he's
Whew.
3 years older, but um,
You
we
were
didn't
in it to
have
win
our
it.
kid
Okay.
until 33.
Okay.
Um, but like, Jenny, I didn't know how to date.
Right.
So at
Yeah.
40, I had to learn how to date people.
Right.
And not only did I have to learn how to date people, I had to learn how to date women
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to explore my bisexuality and I wanted to have dates with femme presenting people and like have that, sapphic love story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to relationship, but I did
Mm-hmm.
not know how to date. And that was,
That's a quote. Mm-hmm.
um, and as I'm sure you know, because a lot of the work that you do is helping women learn how to date,
Mm-hmm.
is that dating's trash. It's so hard.
So what I do know, or what I have learned, is that dating men online is very different than women dating women online. And the joke that keeps coming up when I talk about this is, what does a lesbian bring to a second date?
A
A
wedding ring?
U-Haul. A U-Haul.
Yeah.
Because it is fast. And so that's one thing that I know about. It's fast, and it is very different in that we don't have the same embedded fears and worries that true crime, that our fathers, that movies and television and books have embedded in us about meeting up with another woman, that we have about meeting up with a man.
Yeah.
Um, so do you want to speak about any of the dating that you have done?
Uh, it's funny because I didn't do a ton of dating.
Okay.
Um, I met a few people that I connected with online.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them were real scary.
Oh,
And
shit. Okay.
I always met people in public places
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, but um, and I mean when I say real scary, I just mean like a complete lack of sense of like boundaries and personal space for
Mm-hmm.
interacting with a new human for the first time. Like it was just,
Okay.
yeah, it was very the couple of men that I met up with were very in my space,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to like kiss me right away, and I found it so frustrating because I would talk usually for a week or two before meeting up for coffee or anything like that. I was
Mm-hmm.
very clear about the fact that I am not somebody who's going to jump into physical intimacy right away.
Okay.
So for someone to then be like, "Oh, let's make out by your car,"
Oh, no.
I was like I don't know you,
Mm-hmm.
so why? Um,
All right.
and yeah, the first man that I dated that I really like connected with, um, his his wife ended up dating my husband for a bit,
Okay.
and that was kind of fun. And they had kids, so we went camping a couple of times, and our kids would get together and play and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, but he was very much the kind of person who really liked to have me on the hook.
Mm.
So we would make plans and then he would cancel, or he would like
Mm.
be really chatty for a couple of days, and then there would be like no communication for a week.
Mm.
And then I ended things because it was just like my tender heart was not okay with all of that. And then
Right.
like I want to say 4 months later, he just like messaged me out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey, how's it going? Like, what are you up to?" And and
Mm-hmm.
of course, because I was still very young and stupid in terms of like dating,
Right.
and like looking for that sense of what's the word? I don't know, just somebody wanting me.
Yeah. To
Um,
be desired.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I started talking to him again or whatever, and I said, like, why did you why did you like ghost me and just disappear? And,
Mm-hmm.
why did you force me to end things the way that we did? And what were you looking for? And he said, well, I was looking for a girlfriend. And I'm like, well, that's what I was trying to be for you. And so, he asked me to try again, and I stupidly agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And he just pulled the same thing, just playing with my heart. And so that was terrible.
Mm.
Um, so, I ended things again, and then we were going to try to be friends, and, he stood me up for like a friend coffee date, and then I just
Of course.
stopped talking to him entirely.
Mm-hmm.
So that was,
All right.
yeah, that was sort of like the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now,
then,
really quick, like
yeah.
timeline wise, where are you? Because you said you have a kid who's like 13.
Mhm.
I was just curious, like, how old are the kids at this point? Do they know
So,
that you're living this lifestyle? Like, how does
yes.
that work? Okay.
So I'm very open with,
Okay.
so I guess, so 13 now, he would have been 8,
Okay.
7. Um, I can't math.
It's all right. A
That's
few
okay.
years ago. Let's
It's
go
a few
there.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like 6 years ago,
Okay.
um, is when we sort of started all of this. And I didn't specifically like sit down and talk to him about it right off the
Mm-hmm.
hop. But when we did, go camping and like spend time sort of all together as a family, I didn't want to feel like I had to hide who I was. And I didn't feel like
Okay.
it was fair for my kid to, who is highly intelligent and astutely like aware of things in their environment,
Mm-hmm.
to feel like things might have been weird, and
Mm-hmm.
not have the language or the understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just sort of said, um, like you might see, us like holding hands or hugging. And I just want you to know that that is normal and part of our relationships.
Right.
And, he's like, okay,
Right. Like, I really don't
because
care what you do. That's cool.
kids
Whatever.
don't care.
Right.
And then over the years, as we've had other partners, and as I started dating, like femme presenting people and
Mm-hmm.
having them in my life and showing affection and intimacy with them, I
Mm-hmm.
started saying, like, do you have any questions about my relationship with these people? Do you, is anything making you feel uncomfortable? And there
Mm-hmm.
were times where there were questions, and we would answer them. And I think at one point, we were asked, like, well, are you and dad going to get a divorce? And I was like, nope, we
Mm-hmm.
believe in having, loving relationships with more than one person.
Right.
And so, and then as he started to develop more, he came out actually, when he was 8,
Mm-hmm.
as gay.
Okay.
And then, like 6 months later, said, actually, I'm bi.
Okay.
And then about a year after that, I started asking for they, them pronouns.
Okay.
And then about between 6 months and a year after that was like, actually, I'm trans.
Okay.
And I would prefer he, him pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like my name. And
Fantastic.
yeah. Um, and
And you guys have been
that's
very
been the
supportive
thing.
and, you know,
Yeah.
doing all
I
the
mean, at first it was
things.
like, because at 8,
Mm-hmm.
um, and coming from growing up, with a very like heteronormative, um, dialogue and
Mm-hmm.
script in our lives, um, y- there's always the statement gets thrown around like, well, how could they possibly know that they're gay at 8?
Right.
And when you're coming from that heteronormative mind frame, that question makes perfect sense. How
Mm-hmm.
could they possibly know? Until you stop and think, well, how would I have known I was straight?
Right.
How would anybody
Right.
know who they were interested in at that age, except for the fact that they were interested in something?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, how do you know you like Lego? You pick up
Mm-hmm.
Lego and you play with it. You look at Lego and you go, oh, that looks interesting.
Right.
Sexuality is no different. It's, oh, that human being looks interesting and I feel connected to that human being.
Right.
It's not as complicated as we seem to make it.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
And it's
And
just,
I
the
didn't,
societal impact and familial and friends and what have you that kind of make us tamp it down. Like,
yeah.
I knew that I liked boys and girls, probably. Yeah. I think I was 7 or 8. I think I knew. Like, I don't care. Like, when I had like marriage fantasies in my head or like dating when I was older, like, ooh, when I drive around in a car, it was interchangeable, but I didn't talk
Mhm.
about it. Oh, I
No.
sure as shit did not talk about it. No, 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 no.
No. And I
So,
mean,
yeah.
my first big crushes that I can remember were on girls.
Mhm.
I I didn't have Ken dolls when I had
Right?
had Barbies, and I didn't have Ken dolls, so I would like cut the hair off of my Barbies and I made like lesbian Barbies.
It's delightful.
You know?
I
And
love it.
like I didn't
You're
come
like,
out
she has
till
a
I was
very
fucking
assertive
40.
haircut, right?
Yes. And I dyed them and it was like I don't know if you've seen the Barbie movie, but like Weird Barbie.
Fuck yeah.
I had
Yeah,
at least 7 of them.
right. With
Yeah.
doing the splits everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, my Barbies definitely had some
Mhm.
scissoring going on.
Nice. Nice. It
But
is funny how we learn to play these games with these absolutely anatomically incorrect, just boobs
right.
having dolls, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they didn't want to put anatomy on them for fear that,
Right.
we would be sexual with them.
Right.
I don't think that matters.
Little did they know that some girls would cut holes out of the Barbies and glue that onto the Ken dolls. So, for fun,
For
for
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Just being
See how it
creative.
works. Whatever.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes.
so
And
okay. So you're doing the polyamorous stuff. You're talking to your child about it. Like, and I think that is one of the most interesting things because I had a previous guest who talked about that. She is a LCSWC, like does, queer and polyamorous kinky like affirming therapy. So
Mhm.
she's one of them out there doing that thing as a licensed clinician,
Yay.
and she also said like it was a very open and honest thing with the kids that has held me back like a mofo. Like you say like the kids don't care. My daughter had such a reaction when I even started dating after the
Mm.
marriage ended. And I do wonder if it is the difference between you guys stayed together, the parents, stayed together and are taking this journey between like me separating from her father and then having a stepfather and then that we would go out and find someone else. I feel like there's a little bit of that worry of how many other people are going to have your attention,
I think that definitely can be part of it. I mean, every person is so different, right? And their sense
Mhm.
of security and safety and their attachment,
Mhm.
styles and what that shapes
Yeah,
us so much more than we ever consciously sort of realize until we start diving into it all.
of course.
Um,
Yeah. I
and
think attachment style and art is like so much more important than love language. I fucking hate the love languages. It just drives me bananas. But yes, attachment style, I am all about that shit.
yeah, I think the love language stuff. I think anything that is a catalyst for communication between people can be good.
Right.
It's the problem with any of it. I mean, even attachment style is when people start holding on to whatever that attachment style is or love language is and saying,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is how I am now, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
box that I am stuck in, and
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing that I can do about it. My love
Right.
language is
I can't
touch, and if
change.
you're not going to do that, or if I,
Mm-hmm.
like I can't, whatever, then it's like, okay,
If you can't provide me this, then we can't be together because this is my attachment style and this is my love language. And don't you
yes,
understand that? Yeah. The
yeah,
the rigidity of it. Yep.
yeah, and the sense of
Yeah.
entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not entitled to somebody else's time and love and affection. We are gifted with their
Right.
time and love and affection. And we in turn gift our time and love and attention to them. It's a
Right.
sharing of
Yeah.
ourselves and our space.
Mm-hmm.
Like inviting people into our lives
Mm-hmm.
is hard work.
Yes.
And it gets harder the more we try to like box things up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're trying to fit everything into specific parameters, and I think people are inherently fluid beings.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly evolving and changing. It's the nature of nature.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm hoping that
yeah,
I can have some conversations with some people who have found out later in life, 40s to 70s, that they're asexual, and they look back and they're like, everything that I was doing was kind of forced.
hmm,
It wasn't really what I wanted. It was just what I thought I had to do. Like, you have
yeah,
to date this person, you have to get married, you have to get kids. But really, I was just never really that into it. It's not a matter of my desire decreased. It is, I don't have one and I
yeah,
don't want one. And I think that's super duper brave, to be able to say out loud.
yeah,
And also awesome that it is a conversation that is happening now.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. The more conversations we can have about anything that doesn't fit into the narrow societal script that
Polar.
we're given
Right.
um, is amazing. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I suddenly other people can realize that they're not alone. Like, oh
Mhm.
my god, so I'm not crazy, and
Mm-mm.
these are not just intrusive thoughts in my head. It's actually that I'm unhappy in this current situation, and I don't have to live this way.
Nope. No.
Yeah.
So I want to hear some of this kinky femme that you got going on. What's happening? What can
I
what can
mean,
we hear
I'm
about? What can we talk about?
what can we talk? We can talk about all sorts of things.
Okay.
I It's funny because until I took the kink certification course, and started sort of becoming more involved in my local kink community, I didn't really realize how kinky I was.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
my husband and I, having been together for so long, we've gone through periods of exploration into, finding out what is interesting to us and what feels good. And, you know, he's definitely more of the, porn watching type of person. So he would see something or he would read about something, he would send me information, and then we would talk about exploring it. And
Mhm.
in my mind, um, for years it was, well, this is just, how sex is evolving in our relationship. And I still, even though we were playing with impact play and a little bit of bondage and sensory things, it all still, I still considered myself like, well, like I'm vanilla
Mhm.
ish. And we would talk about maybe having threesomes or something like that. And it was when I started meeting more people in the community and learning more about sort of like kink as an overall umbrella, I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff in here that we've talked about or have been interested in or have done. And I'm like, apparently I'm just a kinky motherfucker. And I like to do, and I have very few like hard limits of things that I won't consider trying, because until I actually experience it, I don't know that I'll hate it. And my hard lines are usually to do like generally to do, like scat. I'm not interested in. No, thank you. To each their own. Like everybody's got their thing. I'm not here to kink shame anybody. If it is consenting people and they are not hurting anybody, have at it. But it's not something I want to do. Like I don't like really, really heavy impact stuff. I love sensation and sensory play. I love playing with different levels. But I'm kind of a baby and I don't really like a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be part of your kink if it's not for you. Like that's the great thing. Yeah. That's why they have those yes/no lists that are so helpful, You can kind of like figure out, oh shit, there's things that we're both up for and there are things that we both are a no to, and that is cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and it comes and goes. Like there's some periods of time where we're super interested in doing kinky stuff, and then other times where we're just not interested in anything. And that's okay too. It's just
energy levels, interest levels, they wax and wane, Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the relationship rebel. Like that's part of your business. I want to hear about how that came to be and where it's at now.
It's still very much in sort of the beginning stages.
Okay.
I only just sort of solidified the name in the last couple of weeks.
I love it. I love it, by the way.
Thank you.
It's very hardcore.
I knew I wanted rebel as part of the name because I feel like it encompasses so much of like who I am and where I've come from. I mean, I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. Billy Idol and David Bowie and Bikini Kill, and like there's so many places where rebellious nature comes out in my life, and I do feel like people who are trying to live authentic relationships, even if what they want is monogamy, but they're choosing it as opposed, like consciously choosing it as opposed to just doing it because that's how it's done. I feel like those people are rebels. Like we are fighting the norm, and we are trying to show the world that you can write your own script and it doesn't have to be so, I don't know, linear and set out for you. So I really wanted that. And then I also, like, I'm a bit of a nerd. I love Star Wars, and like I want my little relationship rebel alliance. Just like little nods to that. And I'm working on creating a blog that I want to call Rebel Yell.
Okay. I love it.
Billy Idol nod.
Right. So we got a Star Wars nod. We got a Billy Idol nod. I'm digging this. Yes.
Little sci-fi,
we can hang,
little
Erin.
Punk, little yeah. And I just they're all little pieces of my personality, right? And like little pieces of who I am. And I want, as a coach, I really want to show up authentically as who I am. I don't it's it's exhausting trying to be someone else and trying to mask all the time. And I just don't fucking want to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's
We've
like,
spent enough of our lives doing that, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially as people who have, been socialized as women. We've been told to sit down and be quiet. We've been told to, let the men folk speak. Um,
Make
and
yourself small.
that's as oppressive for
Mm-hmm.
men as it is for women. It's oppressive to all genders. Like, it's just ridiculousness all around.
Right.
Like, can we just
Yeah.
start with the base level of human and go from there? Like, is that too much to ask?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Apparently it is, but
Right. So that's part of the rebel part.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, sticking it to the man a little bit,
Mm-hmm. All
smash
right.
the patriarchy.
Very cool. And I'm excited for what you're gonna teach under that moniker.
Yeah.
And what you're gonna create. I'm hoping that you'll come back on and like update us at some point about how it's going, you know?
I hope so. Yeah. I'm hoping to be done the Shaw program in December is my
Okay.
goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about a month behind from that according to the timeline I laid out for myself, but
You can catch up. You
I can
can
catch
find
up.
time. It's
Fine.
fine. Mm-hmm. That's why it's self-paced. Don't you hurt
Yes.
yourself. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in the meantime, I'm working on creating programs around unlearning the sort of toxic narratives that we've been given and
Mm-hmm.
relearning how to really get in touch with what our own actual needs and desires are.
Okay.
And I really want to build a program for parents who have queer kids on
Okay.
how they can communicate and support them.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, if they as parents are queer or polyamorous, how they can show up authentically for their kids and work on that communication piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just, I think it's really, really hard, like you said, for parents who are exploring their own sexualities and their own relationship dynamics
Mm-hmm.
to also parent their kids from that place and make it safe for everybody and yet still
Mm-hmm.
be authentic. Like, that's hard
Yeah.
work to do. And,
Yep.
support helps. So,
Yeah. Or just having any kind of clue that you're not alone, you know?
yeah.
It would be helpful. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think that acknowledging that there are different levels of it and there are different, relationships between kids and parents. And sometimes, yes, it is going to be a matter of, okay, you know what? We're going to put this on the back burner and we're going to revisit it. It doesn't mean that I'm changing who I am or not
Mhm.
being my most authentic self. It means that I'm putting my priorities in a different range,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
If it doesn't mean that you have to completely get rid of the idea or say you're never going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, if people wanted to reach out to work with you or learn more about what you're doing, what are your social handles? What's the best way to find you?
I on Instagram it's relationship rebel.
Okay.
I think it's all one word. On Facebook, it will soon be. I'm in the process of building the page. I think it's the relationship rebel.
Okay.
Um, and those are probably the best places to find me starting out.
Okay.
Eventually, I'll have a website and all of that, and then of course it'll be, launched officially
Right.
and all of that. So,
Okay. Email, phone number, anything like that?
I don't have one set up yet.
Okay.
But I do check my DMs on Instagram.
Awesome.
Um, at
DMs on
least
Instagram.
once a week. So,
All right.
if people have questions or if they, I'm always open to like what kind of things people want to see and learn about through social media platforms and stuff like that. So I'm open to suggestions too.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, Erin, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I think this was a spectacular conversation. I hope you will be back to let us know how it's going. I'm excited. I have to make sure that I'm following you on Instagram. I can't remember if I am. I know I'm on Facebook. So I'm going to have to do that for me. Is there anything that you would like be remiss if you didn't say today? Like, did I miss anything? Anything you want to put out there?
I don't think so. I think we talked a lot about a lot of great stuff. This is a great conversation.
Yay!
I guess I would just say, like, if there's anybody out there who thinks they missed the boat on coming out or thinks they missed the boat on becoming their authentic self and is just feeling like they're going through the motions because that's what they got to do to survive, I say it is never too late. It's never too late to embrace who you are. And the more you can, be authentic in yourself, the better you're going to show up for other people. Being authentic is self-care.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Oh, Erin, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank everybody listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of Storytime with the Intimacy Ally, where we say, fuck no to the status quo. All right, my lovelies. Until next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Storytime with the Intimacy Ally. We hope you learned a bit more about putting the fire back in your romantic relationships, exploring communication and emotional readiness in all relationships, and how to expand your definition of intimacy so you can reach your relationship goals. Go to theintimacyally.com to subscribe and never miss an episode. Follow the links in the show notes to social media and events. Till next time, keep on learning, growing, and thinking. Storytime with the Intimacy Ally podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as health or mental health advice.